Hello everyone, this is Charlotte and this is a podcast called Chatting in Cars. It's where I talk about random topics. Obviously none of this is gospel, you don't have to believe a goddamn word I say. You can change channel at any time. Please don't take me as seriously as you think you should, because I talk a lot of shit. This is just shower thoughts essentially. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast because I talk about random topics and I swear profusely. I thoroughly enjoy doing both, so I'm not going to stop anytime soon. It's almost an addiction. So if you don't want to hear that, I suggest again changing the channel. Right, the topic for this drive home, because I am currently driving back from work, is self-sabotage, which is essentially a form of abandonment, really, self-abandonment. Oh god. Sorry, I'm navigating breeders that just jump out in a 40 zone. Even the 40 zone isn't fucking saving them. We've dumbed things down for them to survive from a 50 to a 40, this is in Ks, and they still take the piss. It's like, I don't know, man. Should we make these zones or just risk it? Now it just breeds arrogance, doesn't it? It's like you're just assuming people will stop for you. It's like, where I lived, you would be used as a human speed bump. And essentially I am working today in the area I lived in. So I guess that's a form of self-sabotage. How much do you want to risk it for the biscuit? I don't know. How much do you think you're worth? I don't know. Alright, so self-sabotage in terms of things that you are isolated from with other people. I'm not talking about what other people do to you. I'm talking about what you are allowing and enabling others to do to you. We've all done it. No one is immune to it. Everybody self-sabotages. In a positive way, you self-sabotage maybe to people please, which is what I was raised to do. In other terms, maybe you self-sabotage because you just don't think you're good enough. Maybe you've got low self-esteem, or maybe people have told you that you're not good enough, or maybe you're in a part of a society where they actively say this is wrong and therefore you shouldn't, and so you go, okay. There's a lot of versions of self-sabotage which are intensely negative, which is why it's got that stigma attached to it. But I tell you what, I've never seen anything that wasn't maybe a blessing in disguise. So some people think it's a bad thing. You know, some people might say it's more redirection. Not always a bad thing, self-sabotage. It just has a strange stigma where everybody says my life's destroyed because I did something wrong. And then it spiraled. As I said before, I've done a podcast in the last couple of weeks, I can't remember what the topic was, but once you hit ground zero, you hit rock bottom, there's only one place to go up, and that's up. Or sideways. You can sit there and just sit in the malaise of boredom, which is sitting on rock bottom. Or you can get bored enough to actually do something. Or angry. I used anger. I didn't use boredom. I do go through phases though where I'm sitting there and I'm just having existential crises, but I think that's just being past 30 at this point. You're sitting there going, why the fuck am I doing any of this? And it's a constant system of reshuffling what your beliefs are as well, which is crazy. I do find myself, as I age, getting more introspective about why I'm doing the shit I'm doing. Because I'm not exactly following the same trail as my counterparts. Most of my people are either intensely single, but for unwilling reasons, or they're just because they haven't found someone, basically, but they haven't made any attempt to find anyone, which is interesting. Or they've just gone the whole baby, house, mortgage, job route, which is pretty generic. So, you know, growing up, you do tend to try and gauge where you are in the sense of normality. Not that normal ever existed. Perfection never existed as well. People just seek it out, hoping it's some kind of cure-all for their ails and lack of creativity at points. You know, it's like, I'm doing nothing with my life. I know what I'll do. I'll compare myself to what everyone else is doing, and somehow that would justify me either A, sitting on my ass, or B, doing something with it. Or maybe I'll just start an OnlyFans and really fuck my life up. You know, it's always a comparative study, the human existence. So you're looking around to see, am I doing it right? It's weird when you feel that you're failing, because you're like, but I've ticked all the boxes, I've done all the right steps. I've taken on the mantles that everyone else has been doing. Why am I still fucking up in life? And that leads to a weird spiral of existential crisis. It's like something is going on. And then you start having beliefs about maybe people are picking on me. But then again, that could be like a victim mentality. So you probably shouldn't pick that one up. Don't do that one. That's bad for your kids. Don't do the victim mentality. It will only make it worse. I do that, but I've got a background in autism, so I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I know that I need to learn these steps to do this to get to here, to be like them. And I did that for a large chunk of my, past God knows how many years of my life, just trying to fit in. Not that I wanted to achieve anything in particular, but I thought everyone else is doing this. This is what we should be doing. These are the steps to do that. I have to look this way. I have to act this way. Part of that was reinforced by who I was hanging around with as well. I had my parents telling me who I was and what I had to be. And then I had my ex-husband telling me, I like you this way, and so you should look this way and be this way and act this way, and all this excessive crap where you never really define who you are as a person because you're constantly chasing someone else's ideal of you. And it's bullshit, of course, because when they leave, and they never live, they may, whether they do it willingly as like abandonment and divorce and stuff like that, or unwillingly through death, you are left with yourself. And if you have no sense of who the fuck you are, you're going to be very fucking lost when they do go. So it's always a danger to being compliant to what other people want you to be or perceive you to be. You should have some sense of grounding in who you are and where you want to go and things you want to do. And even, I don't know about men, but women do tend to give themselves up to this in a relationship because we become, enmeshed in who we are, in who we're with. I could be wrong though, I could be speaking out my ass for now. I don't know what guys are like, I'm not a guy. I've known a plenty of guys who have given up, a sense of freedom and things like that just to sort of make this family unit idea work, where it obviously wasn't a clean and neat fit, but it was the thing to do, and so they gave up what would have been a better option, a better lifestyle choice, or something that was less stressful in order to pursue, again, someone else's idea of what they were supposed to do. And that itself can be seen as, self-sabotage. Self-sabotage in order to fit. You gave up your authenticity to follow someone else's dream. Women do it too, like females, and I'm not talking about gender, I'm talking about the sexes, the biological chromosome end part of the discussion, because I don't do gender, it's boring. It really is an outdated thing. But, people just tend to give up parts of themselves to make a plan work, and sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't work. It's the compromising. But sometimes we're compromising into plans and systems that just aren't going to work from the get-go because the ingredients in this pie is shit. So you're essentially making a shit pie. And I know I always turn to fecal matter for this kind of metaphor. But to be honest, it's something we can all communally understand. It's like, because nobody wants to eat shit pie, right? Ew, E. coli. But at the same time, it's trying to find that mid-ground as well. It's like, is this worthy of putting my energy and attention in, or am I just lying to myself that it should work? For example, I spent 16 years married to, I wasn't married to him for the full 16 years. I was with him for 10 years and then married him for 6. But I was, with this guy who I was putting my absolute everything into, on the idea and the dream that this would go somewhere and we would have a full, solid relationship, and that was everything I ever wanted, sort of thing. Because I was trying to heal wounds from my childhood where I didn't have the stable background and lifestyle, and I thought if I could make it myself, then at least I'd have some fucking say in it. But again, I compromised and I put up a lot of shit. I self-sabotaged myself by not allowing my own my own sense of identity to be formed. I gave away a lot of myself to a cause which just wasn't fucking worth it in the end because he bailed. And while it was physically me bailing first, he was gone, man. He was gone. As soon as you start doing things like separating accounts, sleeping on couches, shit like that, finding evidence of stuff, you sit there and think, you've gone, you've checked out, you're not even here. You might be here physically, but you're gone. So this gradual separation occurred. And I abandoned myself and I sabotaged myself trying to make this shit work. And I ignored the signs, and I'm sitting there going, we're married, we're staying, we're doing this. And it's terrible because it just took more of a toll on me. And even then, when it finally did cut, we finally broke up and we went our separate ways, I had no sense of who I was. I self-sabotaged myself in that sense. I had to rebuild from scratch who I thought I was. I had some semblance of things that I liked. Some things I wanted to pursue. Some things I started pursuing I didn't follow through with. But at the same time, you've got to understand what things are valuable to you, because if you're leading your life following someone else's whims, it's not a good thing. I know there's this big discussion at the moment where talking about feminines and masculines. It's not just a sex, gender role based thing. It's an energy based thing, as far as I can see, where you can be male and still be feminine, energy wise. You can be female and masculine, energy wise. Ideally, what you're looking for is a balance between the two, because you've got to contribute both sides of the equation. Everyone should be balanced, ideally, for anything to work forward, because you're going to sit in one energy with different people at different times in your life. You want to be able to access both sides of this. Yeah, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? I got bloody Salai in my head. Stallone. Ooh, Army Jeep. Ooh, I want it. Shit. Sorry, I'm missing green lights. But at the same time, I went complete submissive when I was married, because I was willing to submit. I wanted it to work. I let him take the lead. I let him make all the decisions. If he didn't want us to do something, we didn't. And that's wrong. As much as we'd like to believe that we can honestly, wholly invest in the other side of the other person, because I was a feminine at the time. I wanted to believe that I could invest in this person. I could trust him, and he would know what to do and where we were going, and he could take the lead. And he couldn't. He didn't want to. He did what he wanted to do, which was his own, sort of agenda, his own self-centered, selfish agenda, which benefited him. A lot of the time, I don't remember making any compromises, because there were no compromises to be made. I just followed whatever he did, which was a stupid thing to do for my own sake. That's my own form of self-sabotage, because anything that I wanted, I didn't get to do, I started building resentment for, because I wasn't pursuing what felt right for me. I was trying to make this thing work that we had started and created and carried forth for 16 years. And when I finally left, I was fucking furious, because I put so much time and effort in this thing and got nothing out of it. In fact, we broke even just selling the apartment. Barely broke even. So I didn't even get any money out of this. It didn't contribute to paying off the debt I'd been left with. I had emotional wounds now. I had abandonment wounds, which had been fed on, and made worse. And this was all because I put myself in the care of a person who had no balls and no strength to fucking make anything work. And I say balls as a masculine term, but realistically, women have balls too. I know, it seems like a very patriarchal way of looking at things, but women have got some balls on them. I mean, it's just a reference. It's not a sex-based reference, like a gender sex thing. It's just a thing. I don't see that kind of thing. Feminists, like die-hard feminists, say you can't say that. I just don't give a shit, dude. I'm past this neo-feminism shit. I'm well past it. I'm fed up. It is what it is. Just fucking use the reference, get on with it. We got bigger things to worry about than taxonomy of fucking words. You can't say that. I fucking did and I will. Now let's keep going. Just get fed up with it, don't you? People arguing and bickering over the mediocrity. It's like you're missing the main message here by taking on a submissive side. And I don't think it's an engendered thing anymore. You take on a submissive side, because I've seen plenty of guys that are submissive. And some people like the submissive side of things. Some people like the dominant side of things. I've found myself, I have to find both. You have to be able to be fluid between the two. Because you are not going to be right all the time. You are not going to be wrong all the time. In my submissive side, I allowed myself to be wrong even when I knew I was right, because I didn't want to create conflict or arguments in the relationship. So whatever he said, we did. And it was a fucking nightmare. I don't know what he's doing now with his life. I don't know how he went on his own, if he was on his own when he left, to be honest. I doubt he was, because he had changed so dramatically from as I knew him growing up, because we were like 17 when we met. The last year or so of knowing him, before I left, he was like a different person. So I'm assuming someone got involved there that would have, changed his mindset, done something there. I don't know, because people just don't turn on you like that. They don't flick on the switch like that, on and off. But he wasn't anyone that I could trust, to be honest. Put bluntly, he was unreliable. As much as I wanted to be. Not as unreliable as the one that came after him, I have to say. So he has some credit to his name there. It was not as bad as the one that came after. But by the time the second one came, I'm like, fuck this. I'm not even sticking around for this shit. Fuck off. It's like, I was really, really nice and tolerant with my marriage. I put up with a lot of shit. By the time I got to my ex-boyfriend, I'm like, I'm really just fucking fed up with this immaturity. Because I'm willing to break up with you over this shit, obviously. And you do. I think that's part of healing as well, because you're less tolerant of bullshit. You're like, I've seen this before, I know where it's going, I'm not doing it again. And he would say things like, this is my ex-boyfriend, he'd say things like, you're catastrophizing. It's like, no, I just recognize patterns and I know what you're doing. You're paranoid. I'm not fucking paranoid, you dumb shit. I found evidence of you cheating, you fucking idiot. Of course I'm gonna leave. You think I would take that shit again? Well, yeah, sign me up, I'm dumb. You know, it's dumb shit like that. So that's part of your healing journey. You're gonna start becoming very fucking intolerant and dumb shit. And it's fun as well, because then you can make a joke of it as well. And you don't take it so seriously as the first time. It's like when my first partner, I've only had 2 partners. So I've had an ex-husband who I had for 16 years, and I had an ex-boyfriend who I had on and off for around about a grand total of about maybe a year. On and off, you know? I wish I could say it was longer, but we kept breaking up. It's like 6 times we broke up because he was just that much of a shithead. Just kept doing dumb stuff. I'm going, how do you think this is going to help the situation at all? You doing these things? I don't know. Anyway, that was a him problem. I enabled it for as long as I could, and then went, fuck this, I'm not doing this for the next 40 years. But I had such a tolerance for bullshit when I was married. That went away when I left him. Something snapped in me where I just went, fuck this. I'm not putting up with this. My self-esteem is not low enough that I will tolerate this shit. I'm tired. I'm tired of this shit. I'm tired of the disrespect. I'm tired of this dumb fuckery. I'm tired of the immature games where you have to constantly put yourself first, and my feelings and thoughts and whatever happens in my life just doesn't fucking matter. I'm tired of coming second. And for that smidge, that little instinctual smidge of self-esteem that grew, that seed, I completely reformed as a different person after I left him. Because I left him in debt with nothing. I was rock bottom. And to that extent, maybe self-sabotage. Some people would see it as throwing away a marriage or throwing away a history of 16 years or something, but the future wasn't there. So that form of self-sabotage was reasonable, because I knew what I was risking and what I was throwing away was not going to get better. It was not going to be easier. I would have to have a lot more trauma piled on top of the experience. Like that viewpoint itself, it's like the trust was gone by then, because he had even brought up the topic of, we have to have an open marriage, otherwise I'm going to leave you. It's like, the trust is gone. You fucked that one. I didn't even think that was an option in our marriage. And then suddenly he brings it up, and I'm like, I'm not going to sit with this fuck ass. I'm going, you know, who would sit with that? Who would sit with that besides Will Smith? I don't know. Oh, Will, come home, darling. You don't need to be there. It's a horrible place. But that's the thing. It's like, I was just done. And it's liberating as well, that form of self-sabotage, because you can just slash and burn fucking everything and be fine. I took on fuck me, my stutter. Breathe. A scorched earth policy, because I just didn't want to deal with any of it. And I cut off all his family, and I cut off all his fucking friends, and all the people that were his people from work that I'd added on Instagram, and all my social media and all that shit. And I just cut it off dead, and I don't want anything to do with it, because I'm like, whatever is associated with him is fucking poison. I will self-sabotage myself. I will rip whatever it is that has latched onto me off in order to give myself the freedom I need to grow and rebirth and do whatever I need to do to become something else or someone else. Because this is some toxic poison shit. And if you're associating with him and you're backing him in all this shit, then you're fucking toxic too. I don't want anything to do with it. And then you really have to take a hard line. And you don't understand how much of a fucking people pleaser I am to be able to stand up for myself and say, nah, fuck this. It was a severe case. I hope to God I never have to do it again, because I'm just not that kind of person. I don't like throwing away. I hate waste. The idea of wasting 16 years really ripped on me. Because I don't just go, oh, I'm dating someone for 16 years. Oh, I'm married and this is a thing. It's like, I lived and breathed that fucker. I did. He was as much as me as I was of him. You know, I just lost myself in him. And to have him turn on me like that, it was insane. It was insane. So it took an insurmountable amount of strength to just leave. because I had nothing. I didn't feel like I was anything. I had no identity. I had no resources backing me. It was crazy. It was crazy. If I had kids, I would have definitely viewed it differently, because that's a harder thing to deal with, because you've got to take on the babies, right? You've got to figure out what's going to happen for them. They come first and foremost every time. Fuck what you want, it's what they need. If I ever had kids, my kids had survived. But yeah, luckily and thankfully, the universe is like, no, it's just you on your own, and you've got a job, so you can always rebuild quite easily. This is absolutely a question of your morals. It's like, what do you feel morally about this situation? Does this align with what you want intrinsically and internally? If it's harmful to you, and you have the gift of tuition, you have insight to tell whether this is going to hurt me in the long term or whether it's going to benefit me in the long term. And I knew it was not going to be a good thing. It wasn't just a case of a blow to the ego. It was a case of, this is toxic to me. I hate this. I have a deep-seated hatred of this. This cheating stuff. I really fucking do. It gets me in the guts. It makes me want to throw up. Even to this day, and this is like, what, 4 years later, the practice that some people seem to be fucking okay with. I don't get it. It's like, it's such a betrayal. And people are like, oh, it's nothing, we got an open marriage. It's like, you fucking pieces of shit. How are you even doing this with no conscience at all? There's nothing. Do you even like them? Do you even love them? Because if you absolutely loved someone, you would not be fine with this. They would be absolutely your only person. That is whoever you wanted, and you will live and breathe for them, and that's it. You wouldn't even look at someone else. That's my definition of love. It's like, I live and breathe for this one person. I don't need anyone else. I don't want to talk to anyone else. I'm not checking out other guys. I don't give a fuck if they exist near me. I just want this one person, and that's my person. You know, it might sound like BPD symptoms. That be, possible. It might be my autism speaking out. But, you got so many fuckers just afraid of commitment. It's like, why are you afraid of commitment? If it's a joint commitment, it has to start somewhere, right? If you're afraid that the other person's going to leave you, you still have to make a first move to even test the waters. So why you just that avoidant attachment when they're not even going to risk it in case? That blows my mind. People weird me out. I'm afraid of talking to people in case. I'm afraid of texting in case. Now, I'm afraid of texting, and I've done podcasts on this before because I did the social generalized anxiety one. I'm afraid of that, not because they'll reject me, but because my body will not shut up with the internal screaming. I think that's fear. I'm not sure. So, once again, ASD kicks in. You're like, are you afraid? It's like, I don't know. Is it trauma? I don't know. So the idea of fear to me isn't really a good one, because I have no gauge on what it should feel like. But when you've got perfectly, so-called normal mental people saying, I'm afraid of this, it's like, are you though? Is it a physiological symptom thing? Is it like, because I've got like a fear of sharks, for example. As a kid, I would not go into a swimming pool because fucking sharks. And it didn't occur to me like sharks don't occur in fucking chlorine water, you dumb shit, get in the water. It wasn't a fear of drowning, it was a fear of sharks, because the water was darker than I'm used to, and I didn't like it. Even now, I don't like going in the water at the beach. If it's too dark, I'm like, fuck this. But I grew up in Australia, so sharks are fucking everywhere, right? They're in trees and shit. Sure they are, same as the drop bears and the fucking snakes that keep trying to eat your children. Dingoes that maul your babies. So yeah, of course. You can buy them at Woolworths. Save your house. Attack a dingo. I don't know. That's a bit mental. But it is a country that's trying to kill us. Anyway, but the reasoning there, I didn't quite understand what was going there. So that's my version of fear, is this unreasonable physiological reaction to a stimulus, obviously. And some people would say, well, that's not actually unusual, that's not a bad reaction, because yes, there are sharks in that particular area. If it was at the beach, we've got a shark sighting local, just because we live on the coast in an area that's a migratory pattern. They come around us and they go up north, up into Indonesia, where we are on the western thing. We also get whales, but there's a random fact of the day. But at the same time, it's like, is it reasonable to be afraid to go in the water at all? Because there is a chance you might see a shark at some point in your lifetime. It's like, no. So what do you do there? You self-sabotage, you stay away from water altogether, just on the off chance that it might be in the swimming pool or in the bathtub or in the shower or a cup of tea? Or do you just, risk it for the biscuit and keep going? That's the thing. I don't understand the fear of, say, asking someone out on the off chance they might say yes or might say no. Maybe it's just a fear of picking up phones. Like, I hate talking on the phone. I don't know. I hate that. It's internal screaming central, Just text me. Why'd you gotta make it weird? How did those people survive before before texting? It's like Graham Bell sitting there going, I can't call you. You just invented this device. You have to use it. We use it as much as possible so everyone's familiar with it. We can all use it and integrate it into the community. No, I don't like talking on the phone. Fuck you. I hate talking on the phone. You invented it. Yeah, but now I don't want it. That would be self-sabotage, I guess. I don't know. But no, I joke. But you've got people that live by self-sabotage as well. Even like the logical side of things, they just defy logic when it comes to making their decisions. People who do drugs, people who smoke, people who drink excessively, people who sleep around and then expect people to actually fall in love with them and stay in love with them. It's weird. It's like, how could you not logically see, using common sense, that it would be a bad idea to do that and not expect consequences? It feels stupid to me. If you could, think of a scenario where logic just wouldn't come to play, I'd be fascinated to hear about it. It would be a freak accident or something like that. I mean, I can understand why two polyamorous people would get together, because obviously if that's your lifestyle choice and you can make it work and everyone's fine with the rules and the rules are set out beforehand and nobody gets hurt and we're all, aware and following whatever needs to be done, I can understand that. I don't condone it because I think it's cruel, but at the same time, I've got a background in people cheating on me. I could never forgive someone who cheated on me. That's a given. And I could never say with someone who cheated on me because that's also a given. I know that's a gospel thing for me. That's breaking a cardinal law for me, not just in a religious sense, but also in a ethical sense. I don't stay friends with cheaters. I don't stay friends with ex-boyfriends. If you're a cheater ex-boyfriend, you might as well be dead. So I am not a forgiving person when it comes to that. I would take someone who's murdered someone over someone who's cheated on someone. It's like, you can accidentally murder someone. You cannot accidentally slip and fuck someone for 10 minutes. You cannot. There is no accident there. And this is why people get so emotionally involved in cheating and stuff like that, because there is no accident. We don't want to admit it openly, because we still want to believe that this person could be a good person, but they're not, a selfish piece of shit. But at the same time, there is no accidents in cheating. Not that I'm aware of. Unless you've got a very, very identical twin and they lure you in and they make you think that, it's your husband or something like that. And it's like, oh shit, he was very convincing. And it turns out, oh no, wait, it's not. But, I don't know. There's some scenario out there that probably exists. What is it, like Rule 42? If there's or is that about porn? I don't know. What is it, Rule 42 on the internet? If there's a subject that exists, there's porn about it. Something stupid like that. I got to stop listening to things. Okay. Murphy's Law? I don't know. What is that? If something's going to go wrong, it will go wrong. That's interesting. That's an idea. I might do a podcast on that. But generally with self-sabotage, there is good and bad. There is bad where you've made a series of dumb decisions and expected not a domino or a knock-on effect. That is you being a fucking idiot. I mean, common sense factors here. If this was caveman times, we'd be feeding you the dodgy berries to see what happens. You would, early on, you would have been identified in the group as the one to sacrifice. So if you're self-sabotaging your life to that degree now, then it's probably, social Darwinism. I wouldn't pursue that. If you can recognize that your life feels a bit shit now, I probably wouldn't keep pursuing that line of thought. Try and maybe ask around, reformulate, see if you can make it better. Hit the brakes when you get a chance to, right? You don't just go with it and hope it gets better. There's also positive forms of self-sabotage where you're actually cutting off a dead arm or your dead weight to try and make your life better. And that's where negative self-sabotage can become positive self-sabotage. People might externally perceive it to be sabotage. That's the thing. Whereas realistically, you're just trying to make a clean cut so you can regrow something better or reformulate or try again. That's about perception as well. That's not even... That could be like an internal perception as well. It might feel like you're doing the wrong thing at the time, but realistically, you're doing what needs to be done. Like when I left my ex-husband, emotionally, I wasn't ready to go because I still loved him. I still wanted him. I never stopped loving him until, like a year after I just fucking hated him. Because it sunk in how much damage he had done after I removed myself from the context of being married to him. And then you start seeing in hindsight things that went wrong and how he used you and what happened and where it went down, and you're like, you little bastard. So it starts, like bubbling away in your brain. You go, you fucker, I can't believe you did that after this long. You did all this to me. Right? But no, it clears. Eventually it clears. Why are you getting up my ass, you breed a piece of shit? What are you doing? Fucking retard in a Mitsubishi. You need to fuck off. Anyway. Tailgating. You middle-aged bald fuck. Anyway. I'm nearly middle-aged. I can't complain. I'm not bald though. Yet. I'm hoping for a beard when I get to menopause. Anyway, that's a different story. Finally, I can film my masculine roles. I'll just have like one single hair on my chin. It's like, fuck. Even now I fail as a man. It's all these fucking hormones. But that's the thing. It's like, self-sabotage is not always a bad thing. As long as you can catch it and see which route it's taking and what it might end up as. Look around, ask for advice. Where do you want to go ideally? Because, some people will see, saving yourself as self-sabotage. It depends. And do you actually value anyone else's opinion? Like, I'm a Sigma, I don't give a fuck. I don't. I give a fuck just enough to blend in, to be honest. If I'm going to be absolutely honest, I want to blend in, I want to get paid, and I want to get the fuck out. I'm not here to impress. I am not here to suck ass. I am not here to exploit people for their shit. I'm here to get a job, to get money, to get my projects running. I don't give a fuck. I'm not going to... I mean, you do feel empathy and shit like that for people because obviously horrible experiences can be crippling to those around you and it affects everything. But at the same time, I'm not here to, suck your knob into popularity. I leave that to the girls at the local pub. Pick me, I'm pretty. No, you're not. And you blow cock like a man. Anyway, wait, maybe there are good men out there. I'm not going there, that's a weird discussion. These girls were not great. I'm just saying. So, ideally, what we should be doing is working on ways that are constructive, not destructive. Self-sabotage forms both sides. You can destroy to create. If you've ever seen that picture, and there is a very famous picture of death on one side and life on the other. Death is like the Grim Reaper side of things. And on life is a woman with red hair and white cape. And above them is the life cycle. It's on Google Images somewhere. Someone's done a beautiful picture, and I've got it hanging in my house. It's the rebirth and life cycle, death cycle. You can honestly destroy to create, obviously. You can also create to destroy. That's the downside. Think about any kind of major technology we've made, 21st century technology, right? Whatever has been a growth in the healthcare side of things has also been weaponized to destroy. We've created cures for diseases we didn't have any kind of insight to for the last, things like polio and stuff like that. But we've also created, germ warfare. Things that should be used correctly to save people are also being used to kill people. I think it's Shakespearean, really, because he was talking about, in one of his plays, I think it was Romeo and Juliet or something like that, he was talking about certain herbs to heal and kill. It comes from the same fucking plant, but it's the way that you use it. When he's making the potion for Romeo, it can either create a sedative effect or it can poison you altogether. One for healing, to heal, because it puts you out, gives you time to rest, stuff like that. And too much and it will kill you. That is very much the same with sabotage. You can either take too much of it and it will destroy your life and spiral down to oblivion. Having said that, not a bad place to start. Or you can use it to heal, you cut your losses and you start growing up. if you're propagating plants, for example, you might find a solid root base, but the top half of it, I'm thinking roses here in particular. Anyone who's a gardener wants that. You always use a fucking good rootstock, which will get the plant through winter and stuff like that, and horrible experiences. You give it a good base, but you can also sort of graft on a better flower or a stronger plant's flower into the actual stalk of the plant. Stalk, branch, I don't know. It's the main part, whatever that is. Trunk, I suppose, if it's a rose. So you've always got a chance to restart. You can always grow your horrible experiences or your sturdy experiences, your learning, hardcore, hardening experiences from your base, and then graft on new bits as you go up the plant, as you go through your life journey. There's always a chance to change. There's always a chance to just cut off the crap and start again, which is what they do with grapes as well, I think. They do the same. They take grapevines down to absolute near enough ash, just the root base every year, so that next year's growth is always better, it's stronger. The plant's had time to adapt to the circumstances of the previous year. The root's still there, even when it's absolute ash in the ground near enough. The roots will regrow the stock for the next year. You've got an amazing wine or whatever it is. If you drink wine, I don't drink. For the next year, there's always a chance to regrow and to grow back better and better adapted. Even if you have had the last, say, 30 years of self-sabotage in a negative way. If you choose to self-sabotage that negative background in a positive way, then it just lends itself to, a better future. You're more educated in what you've already gone through. You know what you can handle. You know what's coming. You know what the circumstances are going to be like. It's like reliving your life with experience of knowledge of what happened already, so you can make better decisions. I'm going to have to leave it there because I'm fucking starving. So I'm going to go into my house and find my microwave and stuff things into it because I don't cook. I microwave. Because fuck it, I ain't got the patience for that. And I don't care. To be honest, it works for me. And I hope you guys have a fantastic Thursday. And remember, it's not the be-all, end-all. If you do self-sabotage, there's always time for change. Always, 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 always a chance. You might have to work a little bit harder given some of the circumstances you might land yourself in. But it's never the end. It's never over until it's over, right? And even then, God negotiates. So I'm going to leave it there, and I hope you have a fantastic Thursday. And take it easy.
So space, night, death, darkness, not being there is an essential component of being there. You don't have the one without the other.